Got here about a couple days ago. What was it, the morning or the evening? I can't remember.
Monday, yeah, we lost Sundays.
We lost a whole day. We always lose a day when we come down under because that's how time and space work. So one time our tour manager Lalo lost a birthday. Left on the 19th and arrived on the 21st. His birthday was the 20th. I don't know what are you supposed to do about that.
Does he get to be younger now?
Yeah, I think he's younger. He's a year younger. It's like being born on leap year.
Being held back a year.
Yeah.
First thing we recorded together was our friend's Electric. So we went in and worked on a cover song, and we had no real rule or idea of who was going to play what or anything. It just sort of happened, and that same day, I think we started 5 other songs. Will There Be Enough Water was one of them. Buffalo was one of them. Mm-hmm. Can't remember exactly, but it just seemed to direct us. We, I guess I didn't really have a plan, so.
You guys been writing a new album. Like, how far along are you with that?
It's finished now. It's coming out in a few weeks. So.
Oh, really?
It's called Sea of Cowards, and we recorded in between tours. We have a break between a tour, and we go back to my studio and record some, and then again and again. So it was broken up. So we had got new songs every time we went on the road again, which was great. We just kept injecting new life into it. But the only problem we had was that a lot of the first demo recordings we'd done of the songs we couldn't top. We just thought that they were just roughs to get them down on tape. Well, we'll work on them later, a real version. But those ended up being the real version. So I mean, that feels good though. It feels good that thank God we recorded those, because we captured that moment as soon as we had written that song. We couldn't make it any better.
I read it's going to be a more heavier, bluesier album.
Supposedly, I mean, it's supposedly heavier or bluesier. I don't really know yet. Sometimes I think maybe it's poppier or more synth-based. Every time I listen to it, I feel differently. That's definitely a heavy-hitting. It's the pummeling album. It's so rock and roll, though. It's more rock and roll than any record I've heard in the last couple of years. I can say that without a doubt.
You're going to be playing some material from it tonight?
Yeah, for sure. We're just wondering how many songs from the record we should play. You know, it's the age of the internet. You always wonder, like, should you just play everything, or should you wait till the record comes out? You wonder if you're setting yourself up to be compared. Some songs, I mean, you just want them to take off live and become something totally different. And then you get somebody saying, like, wow, I really like that song the way it is now. I mean, why didn't you put it on the album like that? And you're like, well, it went on the album when it was a little baby. Now it's a full-grown adult. Maybe we should do things like record an album, go on tour, and then re-record the album again at the end. See what that's like. Sometimes you'll be in the room with the Dead Weather, and you'll be writing a song, and even with everyone playing on it, it still doesn't feel like it's a Dead Weather song. It just tells you. You feel it, and you play it back, and you just know it doesn't belong. And then sometimes you'll write something on your own and bring it to whatever band or White Stripes or something like that, and you think, oh, it just doesn't add up. I've had one song that's gone through all 3 bands I've been in and didn't work in any of them. So it's interesting. You'd think it wouldn't be that difficult. Like, oh, it could, but even such a simple thing as like if we played a White Stripes song in Dead Weather, like if we were just rehearsing or something, we played it, it doesn't feel right. One that I've played for 10 years or something, it just doesn't feel right. It just shows you, like, they each have a home where they want to live on their own. They tell you what to do. I think if I wrote down on a piece of paper, like if I sat with a manager and wrote down on a piece of paper, what would you like to do this year? What would be the best business move? If I ever did that, it would never write down any of the things I've done in the last 10 years. None of them make any business sense or anything. I've never worked that way, and I never will. I mean, I only shoot from the hip and do what makes sense to me at the moment and see if I can get something out of it. And I look back and I think, I'm really glad, like, for the last couple of years, I'm really glad. Like, I could have not done anything, you know. I'm really glad I've made a record with the Raconteurs, made 2 albums with the Dead Weather. I worked on a Wanda Jackson album and made 15 7-inches out of my studio in the last year, you know. These are all things that I could have just not done. If I sat down and said to my manager, for example, like, what should I do? Is that too much of me out there? Or it's like someone making 5 films a year or something, an actor. Yeah, something good to oversaturate the market or some business move like that. But again, I just can't think like that. It's too much for me. I'm just glad that people are getting something out of it. if it was all stuff that people were completely disinterested in, I'd probably rethink it.
I think I was 6 when I started playing piano. 13 when I got a guitar, and tried a million other things in between there, trumpet and violin and stuff. So music was always kind of a big deal in my family. My parents really encouraged it, and then my friends really encouraged it as a teenager. So it's kind of been there for a long time.
What about you, Jack?
I can't remember much other than when I was a kid. I really liked the drums. That seemed to be my 95% interest in music, was drumming and bass. There was a drum kit in the attic at the house, and I used to play that a lot. Even at an early age, like 5 years old, I was up there playing that. So that was my first love, and I'm glad to be back in it too, playing drums in a band again.
I noticed something particularly with perhaps Jack, with your other projects, but I guess it comes into this as well, that there's a real gritty honesty about the music, but there's a theatre in front of the music, and just wondered what your take on that is, and I mean about sort of like, I guess, the smoke and mirrors of being a performer.
There's a lot of things involved. I look at entertainers, people who are just sort of straight up entertainers, even the Vegas-y sort of fake entertainers, to people who are supposedly real and extremely authentic musicians. And I try to take pieces from all of it and have it make sense. All of it makes some sort of point, some sort of statement. You go up on stage in jeans and a t-shirt and supposedly project an image that you're real and you don't care what you look like on stage or something like that. That makes a statement too, you know. It almost makes a statement like, well, to me as a listener, well, maybe you should care, because if you don't respect yourself, maybe I don't respect you. And I go down to all kinds of things. Like I think about the colors of instruments and how much that means. I mean, sometimes I think, would I like such and such a guitar player if he was playing a neon green colored guitar? Would it matter? Would it make any difference if Elvis had blonde hair or black hair? I think it does. I think every little tiny piece is all part of the experience. And I always think of the listener or the fan in the waiting for the band to come on stage and looking at everything that's on the stage, because that's what I do when I look at every little piece, every little thing, what color the curtain is, and what photograph is on the bass drum, and I think of all of those pieces, and they make a giant puzzle that's all part of the music experience for me. That's all I can think of. I'd hate to go out on stage and not care about any of that. That'd be a shame. I feel like I wouldn't be doing my job. I gotta say that, I mean, it's the smaller moments, really. It's the small moments that no one else sees that really mean a lot to me. I was sitting in a bathtub yesterday thinking of a song someone I know wrote, and I just couldn't stop analyzing it, thinking of every little word and the metaphors that surround them. And it's just, it can really get inside you. Sometimes you have to not think about it, because sometimes the music and art can be so powerful. It can just reduce you to, you know, plasma or something. It doesn't. You have to sort of take it very seriously and lighthearted at the same time. Hi, I'm Jack.
I'm Dean.
You're on Dead Weather, and you're watching Cheese on Toast.